All right, you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, here we go. Paradox of Sports, episode 32, 2021. We are officially into our second year of making a podcast. So, Jack, congratulations.
Yay!
Happy New Year.
2020's over. Happy New Year to you.
2020 is over. 2021's not exactly off to a roaring start, but we'll talk more about that later. First, before we get into how the conclusion of your stuff, how was Christmas?
It was good. We went down to New Mexico to spend Christmas with our grandparents and my aunt, uncle, and cousins.
Okay, what does that trip entail? I know in the past we've talked about there's usually some maybe some guns being shot and a little partying. Was it more of the same?
No guns were shot. Surprisingly, not this
No
time.
gun. What? Oh, I bet Grandpa's saving up that ammo for something more important.
Yeah,
now is not the time to be
we got him
out
ammo
wasting
for Christmas.
Nice, good. That might come in more handy than you think. I hope not, but it might come to that. So, where did you guys do? Where did you do New Year's Eve at?
Just the house.
So you guys just stayed there in P West and hung out.
Yeah. My parents put me and my brother to bed at like 9.
I didn't make it much past it. I might have seen 10:30 New Year's Eve, but we did a lot of running around. We were in Deadwood, and then we had to go to Jackson, and so we did a lot of. We saw a lot of the world. So, with the end of the year, we wrapped up the NFL season. So, first, let's start with your fantasy. How did your fantasy wrap up?
For the third straight year, I've made the playoffs, and the third straight year, I've lost both games in the playoffs.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Hold on, I've got some hockey. I'm the team mom for the hockey team. The team mom comes with responsibilities, so I just got a very important text message I got to take care of. What has to happen? What changes do you make moving forward? I'm not very familiar on the fantasy, the landscape and that. Is there stuff you can look into? Is it having to do with, are they resting your players? Because is your champion? Oh no. So how do you do 2 weeks of playoffs? First, let's back up to that.
So it's the semifinals is in week 16. And then the finals are in.
So you guys play. So you're playing for first and second and third and fourth then. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you lose, the semis, you play for the third and fourth.
And then number 5 and 6 play for number 5, and then number 7 and 8 play for number 7. Not 9 and 10 playing for number 9.
Oh, okay, got you. So then, is it a deal where are your players getting rested?
No, they're not. It's just bad luck when it comes to the playoffs for me. Because I was the number 4.
I'm sorry, man, that sucks. Because
I ended week 15 as the number 4 seed. After I won a tiebreaker with this other dude. And so I had to play the number 1 seed, which I lost to. So I had to play for the third place against the number 2 seed, who lost to the number 3 seed. And he beat me. So I got 4th place for the third straight year.
That sucks, man. That sucks. Okay, well, I mean, if there's no strategy or anything, we can change. No, yeah, if there's no strategy or anything you can change to fix it, if it's just the product.
There are a few drafting strategies. Just read Draft Engine's fantasy football preview, and you'll find out. Basically, one of the main
Okay.
strategies is that in the middle rounds, if you have back-to-back picks in the middle rounds, you go with 2 timeshare running backs that are going to get equal carries.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Now, I'm looking here at the Pick'em, the Paradox of Sports Pick'em that we did on CBS Sports. You and
Yes.
Mama Bear there are tied. Did you know we can still pick through the playoffs?
We can?
Yeah, I just pulled it up to check it, and it's well, you can't see because of that.
I can't see it due to your background.
No, yeah, because of my background. It's got the 6 picks for this weekend. So you two, which I believe, let me look. I think you two are the only ones. Well, no, your dad's right there. He's 5 back, so more than likely he can't catch you. But we might as well just keep riding this out. We'll have to tell your mom that it's pretty much you two now that have broke loose at the front of the field. You've each picked 131 games right. So with that, it's going to be you and your mom competing. We'll let it go as long as I don't know if this lets you pick all the way to the Super Bowl, or I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to ride it out. So just as a reminder, make sure you let your mom know when you pick yours. But yeah, you've got the 6 games, which we will get into after our guest tonight. We'll get back more into the stuff for the playoffs. So should we go ahead and just get the interview out of the way?
Yes. Introducing.
All right, let's do it.
One of the biggest interviews. Former Olympic gold medalist. Wrestler. Not the professional wrestling, like the grapple wrestling. Kenny Monday. And by grapple wrestling, I mean like the wrestling you have with the headgear on. Like, I don't know what to call that.
That's called wrestling.
Wrestling.
What you like to watch on TV, what you like to watch on Monday Night Raw, that's wrestling. What Kenny does, Kenny is a wrestler.
Wrestling. Yes. Well, get to the interview.
Here we go.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, man. Heard a lot of good things about you guys.
Well, we appreciate
I'm
that.
excited. I'm excited.
So Jack, take it away, buddy.
Okay. What got you into wrestling?
What got me into wrestling? I have 2 older brothers, Michael and Jim Monday, and we started at an after-school program at the YMCA, and we would go. Our elementary school was a couple blocks from the Y, and so we would go there after school until our parents got off work, and just they would pick us up after they got off work, right? It's say 6 o'clock. So we had 3 hours after school to go to the Y and just kind of do our YMCA thing. And they started a wrestling program. Had a really good coach that was a college athlete and graduated from Oklahoma, I think OU, University of Oklahoma. And he started coaching the team. And so my brothers started. My oldest brother is 6 years older than me. Mike's 6 years older. And then my other brother, Jim, is 4 years older than me. And so they started, and I just I think I was probably in kindergarten, like 5 years old. And I just kind of started in behind those guys and never looked back.
You went to Booker T. Washington High School, where you had an excellent career. You never lost a match from 7th grade to the end of high school. What was your favorite match during that 140-0-1 career?
That's a pretty good question, Jay. I can't tell you which was the best match or the greatest match. I had some good matches. Probably winning my 4th state title was probably the best because it was the end of the high school career, and I was on to college. And of course, you go through high school, and when you start to win and you start to have that undefeated record, you become that target. So everyone's shooting for you. Everyone's matches that's the best match, right? And so finally have that over and out of the way and finish a high school career undefeated was probably the most satisfying match of all. But they're all good. every win is good.
So I guess a question I have, no losses, but a tie.
Yeah.
Now, were overtime rules different back then? Because
Yeah.
what was that all about?
Yeah, back then in high school, in collegiate wrestling, even in college, it was a dual meet. Dual meets didn't have overtime.
Okay.
So so dual meets, tournaments they did, but dual meets, if it ended in a tie, then it was just a tie, and both teams would get 2 points. So like for a dual meet, for a win you get 3 points, right? 3 points for just a regular win, 4 points for a major, and then
5 for tech fall, 6 for 10.
6 for right. So then ties were just 2 teams. Both teams got 2 points, no overtime. And so Mike Sheets was the guy that tied me my senior year in high school, and I'd wrestled up to go wrestle him because he was one of the best guys in Oklahoma, and he was undefeated, and everybody's talking about him, and so I went up a weight class to wrestle him, and just for the competition, and so we wrestled a dual meet, and he tied me, and a good match. We wrestled 2 weeks after that. I went up again it was a tournament, and I was like, I'm going after this guy, and so I went up again and wrestled him in a tournament, beat him 2 weeks later in a match, but. And so that was kind of that deal. And Mike, but then Mike, he came to Oklahoma State, and so we were teammates for the next 4 years, and then of course he was my main workout partner leading into '88 Olympic trials, Olympic games. So we wrestled for the next 6-7 years.
So there was a good connection there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was one of my best workout partners, great friend, great teammate. One of my best teammates, and it's so funny. I coached Tommy Chesbro. I remember having the conversation, and we were talking about going to school, and I had signed at Oklahoma State, and he said, I got some good news. I go, what's that? And he goes, well, Mike Sheets is signed to come to Oklahoma State too, so you get to wrestle for the next 4 years. I was like, well, good. That's exciting. I was excited about it.
Yeah, that competition in the wrestling room definitely makes you better. Can't
beat it, man. Can't beat it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You had an almost as good collegiate career, going 121, 12, and 2 at Oklahoma State. What did you like about college wrestling when it comes to your coaches and your wrestling off of the mat?
The college was just a fun time. It was fun to be around the other athletes for other sports, and being at Oklahoma, being from Oklahoma. And representing Oklahoma was a very exciting thing, and I'm proud of that. But I think just wrestling some of the best competition in the country. Once you get to college, and guys start to develop and get strong. I mean, they're not little boys anymore; they're grown men, and so just that competition of the best competition in the country was what made me excited. I mean, I love competition. I love wrestling against the best guys to test my skills. I'm a hard worker, but I love to compete. I don't care if we're playing marbles or basketball, ping pong, pool. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win. So I love competitions. I like the best competition. And so one thing about college wrestling, you get an opportunity to wrestle some of the best guys in the country.
Now, what other schools were trying to get you to go to them besides Oklahoma State? I'm sure. Probably the Sooners were knocking on your door as well.
Big recruiting battle. Big recruiting battle. That was crazy. I remember having and it came down. I knew at one point. I mean, I got recruited by Arizona State, Louisiana State when they had a program, Iowa State a little bit, but I made it clear pretty early on that I wasn't leaving the state, and so it was going to come down between University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And I remember it got so tough, man. It got such a tough recruiting battle that Barry Switzer, I don't know if you know Barry Switzer, the football coach.
Yeah.
Barry was, and I played football in high school, so I had a lot of my teammates. A couple of my teammates went to OU, someone went to Oklahoma State, and Barry was recruiting a heavyweight that wrestled for us at Booker T, and he ended up starting for Barry 4 years straight. Paul Parker, and So we got him wrestling. He ended up being a 2-time state champion in wrestling. So Barry was in town and recruiting Paul Parker, and came by my house. He came by my house, and Stan Abel, which was the coach at OU, he's sitting by, and he put the series seal on me, man. And so I was still kind of indifferent. I'm like, I don't know, coach. And I'm still thinking about weighing my options. He said, well, tell you what, I've seen you play football. You're a pretty good safety. I'll put some weight on you, and you can come play for me at University of Oklahoma. He's like, forget all this wrestling stuff. All the money's in football.
Well, that's a tell of two stories right there. The wrestling coach is like, hey, I'm going to bring in Coach Switzer to,
Right.
get you to come to OU. And then he's trying to convert you to a full-time football player.
Exactly.
Let's just focus on football. I could use you.
Right. And I could play football. I love the game, right? I played since I was a little boy. And I started for Booker T, and I had a good season. But I knew I was going to wrestle. I was only weighing 150 pounds, 55 pounds, right? So he's like, I put some weight on you, get you in the weight room, And I knew, I was like, after he left, I was talking to my parents. I'm like, what he'll do? We'll get there, get to OU, and I'll go out for the football team, and he'll look up and, hey, Monday, you know what? I think you probably need to go wrestle. That's probably going to be your best bet.
Oh, that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
You have won the 1989 World Championship, 4 championships across America, and you won the gold in the 1988 Olympics in Seoul. What is it like winning the gold medal in the most honorable international sports event every 2 years?
Man, you got some great questions. I like it. It's just it was a dream come true, Jack. It really was. It's just it's kind of hard to describe the feeling. I can still think back now and get chills just from being on that medal stand and hearing the national anthem played. Because they play the national anthem of the winner, and then the other guys, the silver medalists and the bronze medalists, they're on the podium, but they play the champions national anthem. And so that moment is just one of the most special moments of my life, and I'll never forget it. And it's just a dream come true. You had a dream. I started out when I think I first remembered even thinking about the Olympics and knowing that was a possibility. It was in 1972 when Dan Gable won his gold medal, Wayne Wells, and at 1972 Olympic wrestling team was one of the best ever. And so that's what really sparked my interest in my dream to be an Olympic champion when I saw that was the ultimate prize in the sport of wrestling. And I was 10 years old. I had already been wrestling, 5 or 6 years since I was getting pretty good. But that was the first time that I was able to watch the Olympics and see what it was about, and see, because there was a lot of stories about Gable and that whole team. That team was great. And so once I realized that was the ultimate of the sport, then that was my dream since I was 10 years old. And so then to have that dream come true, man, it was just an amazing, amazing feeling.
You won silver once again in 1992. Talk about what you noticed in your first Olympic appearance compared to your second, competition-wise.
Well, once you hit that plateau and people know who you are, right? So the first Olympic Games, I think I was kind of new to the games. I wasn't even the number one guy before '88. Dave Schultz was a defending Olympic champion in 1984. I had to beat Dave Schultz to even make the team, and he made the team the year before in World Championships in 1987. And so I really didn't even make the team until '88. So I was kind of unknown a little bit. And so people really didn't know who I was. Then until '92, of course, they knew who I was, and so they could scout me. But really, the competition was still the same. Tough competition all across the board. And I really had a great tournament, and ended up losing by 1 point in the finals, and that was like in the last 10 seconds. So I could have easily been, I could have won that gold medal. Definitely should. I was right there to win. As a matter of fact, it was 1-0 that the guy from Korea, I lost the match, the guy from Korea, his name was Park, but and I beat him the year before that. But that was the only point I gave up the whole tournament. I had 0 points scored against me in 7 matches. In that match in the finals, The 1 point is the one that got me, but only 1 point I gave up the whole tournament. And I was wrestling with a dislocated elbow. I dislocated my elbow training 5 days before the tournament even started, so I didn't even know I was going to wrestle. And miraculously, my elbow it was swollen from my fingertips all the way to my shoulder because I got it hyperextended in practice, and it swole up. And then so like the couple days before the tournament started, the swelling kind of went down. It was probably, I would say my arm was probably about 75% going into that tournament. And a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, so it was, of course, my teammates, my coaches all knew, so I was probably my right arm, my left arm was probably about 75% in that tournament. So I was kind of lucky to even compete.
Now, as far as treatment to try to get you ready for the tournament, what could have been done just with the strict rules as far as, medicine and treatments and things? Was it just like, I just ice it for several days and just hope for the best? Was that the extent of it?
That was the extent of it. I couldn't. They had like a sleeve, those ice sleeves. It's kind of like let me see, it's a stem sleeve that it blows up. You've seen them. Mm-hmm. They have them for the legs and stuff too, but it's a sleeve they put on your arm, and it's got a stem machine and ice in it, and then it'll just stem, and then it'll just keep that ice on your arm, and kind of just keep stem going through your arm and try to get that swelling down. And so I just did that every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and a lot of prayer, and I couldn't get on the mat for 6-7 days before that, because it was about 6 days before it started, so I couldn't get on the mat, and I just prayed that my arm, just would hold up, And when I did it, I went to the doctor right away, and the doctor and all the trainers, he said, well, if your arm wasn't so strong, then you blew some tendons out. But I didn't blow any tendons. That was a good thing, and it was just hyperextended. And I kind of pulled it back in after it happened. But yeah, so it was just treatment every day and a lot of prayer, man.
But and you mentioned you weren't able to get on the mat for several days due to that injury. As far as conditioning and just staying in shape and making weight, what was that process like?
Yeah, I just could bike. All I could do, I could do it just get on the bike and jump rope, and I really couldn't jump rope really because I couldn't really jump. So I was just on the bike every day. It's on the bike every day, and just kind of that's how I got my weight down, and so I kind of stayed moving and kept sweating that way, right? So all I could do was bike. I couldn't really run. I couldn't do anything else. So, yeah. So.
What was your experience of being inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, which you deserve after your record-breaking career?
It was, it was exciting. It was, it's at that time you kind of, it helps you to look back over your career and all the things and all the ups and all the downs and all the trials and tribulations that you go through in sport. And so to be recognized by your peers and the people that are the most important voices in wrestling, I mean, it was exciting. It was exciting. It was proud. It was a proud moment. And so when you reflect back, you think about all the people that was in your corner, all the people that believed in you, and your coaches and your teammates, and everyone that is a part of that process. You feel good for them to share that night with you. So it was a proud moment for me, proud for my mom and my dad, my brothers, and my teammates. And so it's it's just a great honor to be recognized with all the greats in the sport of wrestling.
In 1997, you decide to trial MMA, defeating John Lewis by TKO in your only match of this profession. Describe the difference in grappling between MMA and wrestling.
Well, in wrestling, you can't choke people out, right? You can't get them in a submission hold, right? That's illegal. That's illegal. So, it's just, it's a totally different sport, right? I think there's some crossover as far as your takedown and your control and those kind of things, and your body positioning, and really that's kind of the crossover. But other than that, it's just, it's a different sport. It's a different sport, right? And so, it's pretty much just a street fight with rules, pretty much, with rules. And of course, your technical part of it is crazy now, and it's really grown. When I first did it, it was probably, it was 1997, 97, 98. And it was pretty, it was a very young sport, right? It was starting to grow, and I knew it was going to take off. I knew it was going to be just a humongous sport. Because I always thought as a wrestler that wrestling was a martial art. I recognized that right away. And probably that was one of the reasons I stayed in the sport, because it protected me on the playground, right? So if I got into a skirmish on the playground, my wrestling skills and my knowledge would always come into play and always give me the advantage on people that didn't have that background, right? And so whether it was a guy that knew karate or the boxing, or if they couldn't stop my takedown, and they were in trouble, right? And so I knew right away that wrestling was a martial art. And so I knew it was going to be a big sport, and it just hadn't hit big at that point in time. It was still a little bit controversial. Some of the politicians were against it, and they were saying it was a cockfight and this and that, it's barbaric, and so they had some pushback on the sport. And then but I was pretty much done with competition. I was 97, so I was close to 40. I was 40 years old, and I was really retired. And so I really didn't want to put that time in the training aspect of trying to get ready for another sport. But if it would have been big like it is now, probably after 1992 Olympic Games, I'd probably went full-time fighter and made my way and tried to be a champion in the sport of MMA for sure. I love the sport.
What do you do in your spare time now?
What do I do in my spare time? I spend time with my family. My wife, Sabrina, I spend time with my wife, my daughter. I got 3 kids. I got my daughter, Sydney's 26 years old now, and Kennedy, which wrestles at UNC. He's a senior now. He's 22. Then my youngest is Quincy, he wrestles at Princeton University. And so I spend time with them. And of course, I'm still coaching, and I do those things. But I love to travel. I love to travel the world. And it's just kind of tough on us now because we haven't been able to go on vacation. My wife and I have missed 3 vacations so far. So we're at the house just kind of enjoying each other. But yeah, I miss traveling. I love to travel. I love to go other countries and see how the people live and just be cultural through travel. So I love to travel. I love to boat. I love to play tennis. My wife and I have been playing a lot of tennis here lately. And I'm a sportsman. So I like tennis. I like basketball. I love playing ping pong and pool. I have tables at my house. And so, matter of fact, I'm up in my game room now. I got a pool table over there. And so I play that. And so that's it. I love to get out. I love cars. And so I got cars. I love to shine up and take out on the weekends. And so that's kind of what I do, kind of American stuff,
So as far as the cars, what do you got there in the garage?
Well, I had a Corvette. I've sold that. And I had a El Camino. I've sold that. So I'm buying and selling. But so I'm looking for another Corvette now. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. But I just have a truck now, a big truck, Silverado, that I keep clean. But I'm looking for a couple different things here now. I'm waiting for my kids to get out of school. I got 2 kids still in college. And so one at Princeton and UNC. And so when they get out of college, I think I can kind of go back into my hobby and maybe get a couple more cars. Right.
So,
right.
So talk about your boys and their wrestling careers, and the pressure, or or do they have pressure? Hey, Dad's an Olympic gold medalist. We want to follow in his footsteps, and talk about how hands-on or hands-off you might have been as far as their wrestling careers growing up.
Yeah, I mean they're in the position now that where they've been wrestling since they were 5 or 6 years old, right? And so they've been in the game for a long time, and it's been fun watching them. It's been fun coaching them. It's definitely a fine line between your coaching and your parenting, and so you have to kind of pull yourself back sometimes. Sometimes I cross the line when they were growing up, and of course my wife would pull me back, right? And but it's been fun. It's been fun watching them grow, and now they're kind of carving out their own careers and their own path and doing their own thing. And so it's fun. It's fun as a parent to watch them compete and do their thing. Of course, they're both in college now, and so Kenny, he's a senior and he's graduating this year. And so the job to get them to college, and get them college educated is that was pretty much the goal for me and my wife early on. And so they're at that point now. And so now it's just kind of to watch them, and I try to help them when I can, right? And but try not to be overbearing. Let the coaches coach them and let them do their thing. And I still kind of roll around with them sometimes, right? They still can't get me. They think they can, but they still can't quite get me, but they're getting close. They're getting close. Yeah, but it's fun watching. Yep, it's fun watching them compete, man. It's it's just it's stressful, right? It's stressful. I think it's more stressful watching them than it is than when I was competing, right? Because I can control what I do. I can't control what they do, right? I can't wrestle for them, right? And so, but it's fun watching them, man. It's stressful as it is, but it's fun watching them compete for sure.
What was your favorite opponent in your whole wrestling career, from high school to college to Olympics to everything?
Wow, that's a great question, and I get that a lot. I either get that or I get what's my toughest opponent, and it's kind of hard to put my finger on one of them, right? I've had, of course, Sheets when I was in high school, and then in college it was Nate Carr. Nate Carr was probably my nemesis in college. He's a 3-time now. He got 2 of my national titles. He beat me twice in overtime in NCAA finals. And so I won my senior year. So he got 2 of my titles in overtime. So it could have easily been my 3rd title. So Nate Carr is one of them. Dave Schultz is another. We had some battles. I mean, me and Nate probably wrestled 17 times. I think me and Schultz wrestled. I beat him 11. He beat me 4. So we wrestled 15 times. And then the guy the Russian I beat in the Olympic Games, Adlan Varayev, I wrestled him 3 or 4 times. So he's definitely one of my toughest ones, one of my best matches. Fedzayev, another Russian that I beat in 1989, not the U.S., but the World Championships. And he had never lost an international competition. And he's a 2-time two-time Olympic champ, and world champ, 5-time world champion. So beating him was one of my highlights of my career. And that's probably, but to say my best match would probably be the Olympic gold medal. And it had to be the best moment in my career. I had some great ones. I've had wrestled some of the best guys in the world. Huh? What'd you say?
Who was your least favorite opponent?
My least favorite opponent. I don't know if I had a least. I don't know if I can categorize that. I don't know. I don't know. What do you mean least?
Who I didn't want? Somebody that whooped you horribly, or Keith whipping you horribly.
I don't think it's got a category for that one, bud.
I don't think I've ever been whooped horribly. I think my probably most disappointing match was in 1996 in the Olympic Games in the semifinals. I I lost to the Olympic champion Sateev, and he's one of the best. He's a 3-time Olympic champ and world champ multiple times, and I lost him 6-1. I've never given up 6 points in a match, right? And so that was probably my least favorite match, probably.
Yeah.
What?
And sorry to interrupt. One last question that I have. We're just looking at like Olympic wrestling. You mentioned like 72. That was the year 72 there in Munich. When Gable won gold. And just looking at all the years and just all the studs that were coming up, and there were some Olympic gold medalists. They only made it to the Olympics once. Where you're a 3-time Olympian, and you got 2 medals, and and even a 6th place. Where you were a placer all 3 times, and even the gold medalists, your Henry Cejudos, Kel Sandersons, Kurt Angle, and then there's you're a 3-timer. Bruce Baumgartner, he's what, 4-time Olympian.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, he could probably qualify again. That guy every single year, seems like he was always in the hunt and bringing home some hardware. But who would you say, just with everybody in the world of wrestling, whether it's freestyle, Greco, who would you say is the most decorated Olympian wrestler? And you're certainly in that conversation.
Well, you'd have to say, Bruce is definitely American, or just anyone.
Break that up into 2 different categories. American and everybody else.
Well, I think you start with, Dan Gable's name is still one of the most recognizable names in the sport of wrestling. But John Smith is a 6-time world champ and 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and in my eyes, he's got to be at the top. Bruce Baumgartner, of course, with 4 teams, with 2 Olympic golds and bronze, and so he's been my teammate. He was my teammate for 3 Olympic games, and so those names have got to stand out. I think Gable's name is probably more recognizable, more so from his coaching than his actual, because he only went to 1 Olympic Games, right? Olympic champ 1 time, world champ 1 time. So I think just his coaching, his record in coaching was kind of kept his name throughout the time. And it's still, of course, he just got the Medal of Freedom from the president. So I think his name is probably the most recognizable and most decorated. But if you ask me who's the best American, I would say throughout the time, I would have to say John is probably top of the list in my eyes. And then, you get guys like Lee Kemp, which is a 3-time world champion. Probably would have been Olympic gold medalist in 1980. And really probably would have been 1984. I think Lee, and I just talked to Lee the other day. He was a world champ in 82, and then he made the team in 83, right? But he was in grad school, and he chose not to go to the 83 World Championships, gave the spot to Dave, which he beat in the trials. Dave Schultz goes and wins the World Championships in 83 and just got that momentum and came back and beat him to make the team in 84. And but it was a close match, right? But I think if he wouldn't have done that, I think he'd have won a gold in 84. I think so. I think he'd have won gold in 80 and 84 if all things would have kind of been like they should have been, right? And so Lee Kemp is in my eyes one of the best ever too. A lot of people don't give him that credit, but I think, of course, Cale Sanderson. You got names like Cale and Henry and those guys, but those guys are more recognizable from the coaching, and of course Henry's MMA, and but Dave Schultz, of course, his name is he's a legend in the sport, and that's going to continue to be recognizable. But if you ask who's the best, I think John is probably the one of the best.
All right, Jack, I think you got one last one to close us out on.
Yes. What advice do you have to young kids getting started in wrestling?
What advice do I have for young kids getting started in wrestling? I would just say to work hard, educate yourself in the sport. I mean, I think today, Jack, is probably the best time to be an athlete, the best time to be a wrestler, just because so much information is so readily available through the internet. I mean, you can watch matches, you can watch the best in the world compete. I mean, they got technique videos, they got all kind of things that you can watch and educate yourself, which we didn't have as a kid growing up. I mean, we had to either go to the matches or we had to, get taught at camps and clinics and that kind of thing. And those things are still important. Camps and clinics are still important to be able to go and learn. But I think it's important that you put education first, be great students, be great teammates. One of the things that I learned early on in my career, I learned at the YMCA just because of the program that we had and what they taught at the YMCA. And that was to be a great teammate. Be a great teammate. And that means showing up, staying after if I need to stay after to help a teammate, being supportive of the teammate, because I mean, sport is tough, man. It's tough. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of wins and losses. And sometimes I'm winning and my teammates are losing and I got to pick those guys up and vice versa. If I'm losing, I depend on those guys to pick me up and help me get through those tough times. Because wrestling is a tough sport. And all sports are tough, but wrestling is a tough sport because you have to really factor in your weight class and what weight class you're going to compete at. And, so to be a wrestler, there's a lot of dedication that has to go into it because you really have to dedicate yourself and learn about nutrition. You can't, it works against you. It's hard to be successful if you're not being strict in your diet. You can't be out eating French fries and hamburgers and cheeseburgers and pizza and be successful in the sport, right? So you really have to learn more about nutrition, learn how to train your body where you're just not, not strengthening your body as far as and you don't have to be lifting weights the whole time, but I think you've got to do push-ups and pull-ups and there's a lot of things you can do to strengthen your body other than trying to lift weights. And then, strength conditioning is a big part of it. And so I think it's just about educating yourself on all aspects of being an athlete. And I think you'll have a good career.
All right.
Olympic gold medalist Kenny Monday, thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us here on the Paradox of Sports. And best of luck on the boys' wrestling careers. And
thank you.
Life after wrestling once they get those degrees.
Yep, absolutely. Quincy's he's sitting out this year just because of the pandemic, and of course Princeton, all the Ivies shut down their season, so it's a good thing he did. So he'll go back next year, and he'll have 2 seasons left. And then Kennedy he's a senior, so he'll have this year. But then they gave all the athletes an additional year. So every athlete this year, if they want to come back and have this year over, they're eligible. So that's a good thing. But
bonus head shirt.
Yep, it is exactly. So I don't know if he'll take that. We'll see. But he's got this year, and so he's trying to go out and be a national champ this year. So we're pushing him here. And then I'm coaching Jordan Oliver, which is we have the Olympic trials coming up in April. Of course, the Olympics was pushed back, and he was right there to make the Olympic team. He's ranked number 2 in the country right now. But April is the Olympic trials, and so I'm looking to have him on that Olympic team and put him in the Olympic Games. And so that's what we're striving for. So watch out, we're coming.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to it, and we'll be glued to the television set.
Thanks, guys.
Come this summer. So
I appreciate it. You guys stay safe, man, and hopefully we get through this pandemic and get on down the road, man. And hope 21 is a lot better than 2020. 2020 has been
don't we all?
It's been a tough.
I think what's been great is being able to stay close with family, and
Yep.
you know that if there's a silver lining with this whole pandemic thing is being around the loved ones. So
Yep, that's true. That's true. Well, Merry Christmas, man, and God bless you guys. I wish you the best.
All right, thank you, Mr. Monday. That guy's a stud right there.
Yes.
Do you have any desire? Do you have any desire to wrestle? We haven't really talked about that, but is wrestling, I know your old man did it, but is that just not, you like basketball, right?
Basketball, football, and baseball.
Gotcha. Those are the
All
three.
three
And
of
that's, there's kind of the
Probably
running
baseball
rivalry.
is the sport that I'm gonna have the most success in the future. Baseball.
Gotcha. So you
most
like,
success
yeah.
in the future.
Nice. Okay, so we'll stick with baseball. So, but before baseball season gets here, we got to wrap up football season. So, like we discussed earlier, before we went to Mr. Monday, we are going to talk about it's Super Wildcard weekend. I'm not sure what they've dubbed it. It's they've added the other two games because of everything that happened. So, what is probably the biggest interest of myself because of the ties to Wyoming and the football team here, but on Saturday, 11 o'clock in the morning, Indianapolis goes to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Colts at the Bills. What are you feeling on this one? What do you take with this? That for people should know, but if you might not know, that's Phillip Rivers. In Buffalo, you got an old, slow quarterback against a young rocket arm quarterback. What are you taking here?
I'm taking. Wait, hold on. I'm taking the Bills, but to win by a lot. This is very surprising since the Colts defense is that good. I'm picking the Bills to beat the Colts 48-24. That may be a wild one.
So you think it's going to be a rout?
Yeah,
no,
not exactly a rout.
That. That's you got to go with your gut, man.
Yes, the top
48
passer
to
for
24
the Colts
is a rout.
Yeah, top passer, on the Colts, Phillip Rivers, 254 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. The top rusher, Jonathan Taylor, he'll have 100 rushing yards. And then Michael Pittman, top receiver, 98 receiving yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, Bills passing, 353 yards and 5 touchdowns for Josh Allen. He's also going to have 86 yards on the ground and a touchdown, which is going to be the team high. And then receiving-wise, I'm picking Cole Beasley to have 104 receiving yards as the best one.
Perfect. What's our next game?
What is it? I forgot.
2:40 game on Saturday. Friend of the program, Morgan Fox, who I believe he had a sack last weekend. Might have had 2.
Yeah, he did.
I know he had 1. They go on the road to Seattle. I hate Seattle, so I'm really pulling for the Rams here. So LA Rams in Seattle, 2:40 Saturday afternoon. What are you thinking here?
I'm going with your gut, and this one's also going to be pretty much of a rout. Rams beat the Seahawks 34-17. Jared Goff throws for 256 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cam Akers, best rusher with 59 rushing yards. Top receiver, Robert Woods, 93 receiving yards. Meanwhile, on the on the Morgan Fox side of things, I'm only projecting him to have 1 tackle.
No, he'll have more than that. Why are you thinking? Just because you think Seattle's going to throw the ball a lot, or what's the thought process there?
I have a feeling that they're going to try and – because Morgan Fox is on the defensive end, I have a feeling that they're probably just going to do a lot of those inside quick passes to DK Metcalf where he could break loose. So there's probably not going to be much of that of a chance for for Morgan Fox to get to the quarterback quickly because Russell Wilson was doing good until he just started playing horribly. So,
Yeah.
and maybe only have a few outside runs with Chris Carson. So that's probably going to be when the time that Morgan Fox can stuff him. No, it's not going to be a tackle for loss, just a tackle. Probably just. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson, 253 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Top rusher, only 38 rushing yards is the top rusher, Chris Carson. Top receiver, 97 from DK Metcalf.
Okay. Duly noted. The night game on Saturday, Tom Brady goes to Washington to face the Washington football team. So, Buccaneers at football team. What do you think?
Buccaneers at the Washington football team. I am picking the Bucs to win 20-13.
Oh, so you think it's going to be a tight one?
Somewhat tight. Tom Brady, he's going to have 298 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Top rusher, 66 yards from Ronald Jones. Top receiver, Scotty Miller, 68 receiving yards. And then meanwhile, the football team side, Alex Smith, top passing, 220 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Top rusher, Antonio Gibson, 48 rushing yards. Top receiver, Terry McLaurin, 81 receiving yards.
Okay. So now we go to Sunday. Sunday morning, 11:05. What's that? Yeah, Sunday. Fun day. Probably the most evenly matched game, perhaps, of the weekend is the 11-5 Ravens, 11-5 Titans. Baltimore has to go on the road, which is weird because they were the top dogs last year. Baltimore on the road to Tennessee. How do you feel about that one?
I am taking. Let me see what my simulation is going to say.
Okay, got to run the numbers.
Running the numbers. New game now. I'm picking the Titans to win 24-9.
Say that again.
I'm picking the Titans to beat the Ravens 24-9.
Okay. Titans to beat. Okay, that's a bold prediction. I'm gonna go. That is our first disagreement that we are gonna have. I am picking the Ravens.
Yes. Lamar Jackson is going to have a horrible day passing. 159 yards, no touchdown, 3 interceptions. Top rusher, J.K. Dobbins, 82 rushing yards. Top receiver, Mark Andrews, 57 receiving yards.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, folks. Tennessee is going to roll the Ravens.
Yes.
So, if
and then
you
Ryan
like him, roll with Jack.
Ryan Tannehill's going to have a pretty good day. 254 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interception. Top rusher, Derrick Henry, held under 100 yards with 98. Receiving-wise, top receiver, Corey Davis with 95 receiving yards and a touchdown. And the Titans are going to use 3 punters. That's my prediction.
I'll take the under. I'll take the under on that. Hell, if they score that many points, they ain't going to punt 3 times. So, okay, Sunday afternoon.
They're going to punt 8 times.
We got. Oh, that's a lot. Sunday afternoon, Bears at Saints. What do you got?
Hold on. Simulation time. Simulation. What will my simulation say? Saints win 23-13. Passing wise,
okay, 23-13.
Bears passing. Mitchell Trubisky, 236 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. David Montgomery, top rusher, only 44 rushing yards from David Montgomery. Top receiver, David Montgomery, but he's going to have 120 receiving yards, including a 65-yard reception that wasn't for a touchdown. And then Saints-wise, Drew Brees, only 161 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Not the best game from him, but they're going to attack him on the run. Taysom Hill's going to be the best rusher with 111 rushing yards. And then the Saints' top receiving, it's going to be 94 receiving yards from Emmanuel Sanders and a touchdown.
All right, Sunday night. Browns at Steelers.
All righty, folks.
Do you want to know who I'm picking?
Who are you
I'm
picking?
picking the Browns. I'm picking the Browns, man.
Yes. No, I'm picking the Steelers because they're going to be without one of their top offensive linemen in Joel Bitonio and without their head coach, Kevin Stefanski. So, wait, hold on. Simulation time. I picked the simulation just so that I could know what the stats are going to be because I love the stats. Stats are my favorite.
You're a stats guy.
I am a stats guy. Still waiting for that simulation to come up. Yes, Steelers win 30-21. Baker Mayfield's going to throw for 208 yards, a touchdown, and 4 interceptions. 4. Nick Chubb's going to be the best rusher with 95 yards and a touchdown. David Njoku, best receiver with 59 receiving yards. And then on the Steelers passing, Ben Roethlisberger, 316 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Steelers rushing, James Conner, 78 yards and a touchdown. Steelers receiving, Juju Smith-Schuster, 82 receiving yards. And then those 4 interceptions, there's going to be 2 from Minka Fitzpatrick, 1 from Alex Highsmith, and then 1 from Terrell Edmonds. Those 4 interceptions for Baker Mayfield.
All right, that's a lot of defense being played there. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna pick the under on that too.
All right.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to cover?
Other than the fact that Adobe Flash is no longer needed for your computers, I think we're all good.
Okay, write that down. Adobe Flash, folks. No more annoying banners telling you need to update it or download it to get your stuff to work. I do believe next week we're going to have the 2 gentlemen that had won your fantasy league in the past and the new gentleman that won it this year. They're going to come on with us, and we're going to have a ceremonial passing of the trophy and then talk to them a little bit about your fantasy league. So how does that sound? And then we'll break down this weekend's the playoffs, and then we will look forward to what would next weekend be? Is that, what do they call those, conference weekend? And then conference championships.
Super wild card weekends. Super wild card
Yeah,
weekend.
super wild card. Okay. Beautiful. We'll break her down. So
I can't wait to
we'll talk
see-
about it next week. How's that sound?
I can't wait to see Grasmick get embarrassed. Because
Why does he get embarrassed?
Grasmick lost the championships, and he was the number 1 seed.
Oh no! See, it
And he
happens,
lost
man. That
to the number
fantasy's
3
finicky, man.
seed.
You have one guy have a bad game.
Matt. Yeah, he lost to Matt Rollins. There are 3 Matts in our
Yep.
league.
Yeah, we have a pair.
My dad, Matt Bailey.
Yeah, and 2
Matt
of them play.
Rollins.
And I believe we have Bailey and Rollins coming on with us next week. Is that correct?
Yay!
Or I think he's going to try to set it up. So
Yay!
cool. Well,
Cool.
as we're always told to do, we're not going to mess it up this year. So go ahead and, as the executive producer tells us to, go ahead and tell everyone what they need to do before they close this video.
So that's it for this week's edition of the Paradox of Sports podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and then follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And it's going to really help us get these get these star guests like the one we had in the Olympic gold medalist. See you guys.